Hey guys, Morgan's Maintenance. Today's tool review is on one of my most used M12 tools. That's the M12 installation driver. Number 4 in my top 7, but it was only number 4 because my Surge is number 1 and they kind of do this very similar things. But in that video, I also had a comment from Farmer25. He was kind of back and forth on whether or not he wanted to get this hammer drill or this installation driver, and he kind of wanted to know the features of it. He asked if I could do a full review, but I'd actually been thinking about it anyways because just like my M12 circular saw, this is a tool that I don't see a lot of people using in the M12 line that I think is phenomenal. So I wanted to share my thoughts on it. I'm going to share with you the good things that I think about it. And I'm also going to share a few things that I don't know that I'd necessarily call bad, but they're improvements that I would like to see if they do a Gen 2 of this that I think would make it a lot better and way more useful. But I'm just going to go kind of over a brief overview of the features, and then I'm going to show you the good things and show you that in practice. And then I'm also going to show you some of the bad things as well. So again, first off, one of the things that I really like about this is, the balance of it compared to that of an impact. Whereas I've either got a big battery and that makes the battery end heavy, or I've got this big head up here with a small battery. It's kind of off kilter sometimes whenever you're using that. The weight is evenly distributed over the whole tool. The belt loop is a lot bigger. I think that I really like how secure this feels, how balanced it feels when it's on a belt clip. If any of you have been using one of these, I think if you're just doing normal movements and all those kinds of things, clipping on your tool bag, carrying it, this works fine. But if you're really working and moving around and contorting yourself a lot, I'm a little iffy on these belt clips, staying in place and not popping out on me. Installation driver, in my opinion, is a lot better. Now, compared to your impacts and your drills, you've got this big beefy thing that kind of sits out there. But there's bonuses with this, the fact that it makes it balanced, being your belt clips out here centers that tool, but you also have this magnet right here. So you can put drill bits on, or driver bits, you can put drill bits, so you can swap back and forth between the two, or say you're taking apart a fixture of some kind. You pull out the fasteners, you need somewhere to put them. You got a built-in parts tray right there. The magnet on it is pretty significant. It's not crazy strong. It's easy to pull stuff on and off. But if you put something maybe like on top of the other thing, it might fall off. But as long as they're kind of not touching, they're actually making good contact with the magnet, it works really, really well. So another features that you got on this, you got the 2 speeds. And then you got the clutch settings. That's something that you don't get on an impact. If you need to do some finite work, where you need to make sure you don't strip something out, or you need to, just snug up something and not just full bore drilling it. Nice to have that setting on there. And then you got the trigger for forward and reverse up here. That is a big down thing for most people that I've watched the reviews, but I actually prefer it. And I think that's why I actually grabbed this tool and use it. Along with the balance, I like where the trigger is better than your just standard stuff, but I hold mine. I don't pull the trigger with this finger like I will on my impacts and everything else. I use my middle finger, and I put this finger along the side, and then I think that's why this here, and maybe you guys that have fest tools, I know they're similar in function. Maybe that's how you're supposed to hold them as well. But if you put that in there and you use this as your trigger, my thumb reaches up there like right at the exact right spot. So I can be in somewhere, and even though I might not can feel where that little trigger is, I can easily just press that button and change directions on it. It's not a big deal at all. Like I said, I actually prefer this. The only thing I'm worried about is that it would tear up or something like that. But again, I've had this tool for 2 years and 2 days. I looked up the receipt, and I bought it August 10th, 2020. That's how long I've had this and had it in use. So again, I think that overall, just the layout of it and all those things I really like. Of course, the big selling feature is these attachment heads. You get your normal 1/4 inch that you can put on there as far as for taking and putting any of your driver bits in that. So anything that you have, whether it's a driver bit, a drill bit with that kind of attachment, slides in just like any of your impacts would. So you have that feature, but you also, with that off, you can take your bits, put those directly in there. They're held magnetically, so they don't just fall out. If you have that in there and you tilt this up, the bit's not going to come out. Now, sometimes when you're putting in screws and things like that, this will come out with the screw. There's nothing really holding it in there but that magnet, so that's one thing to watch out for on that. You get a 3/8 chuck. It's a metal chuck, so as long as you've got a 3/8 drill bit, or this one's a 1/2 inch that's tapered on this end, you know, you can put your drill bits in there. So that's something you can't do with an impact. I can go from a 1/4 inch attachment to where now if I've got a drill bit that specifically needs to be in a chuck like this, I can swap the head and I've got a drill that I can use as well. So that works good for that. You also have this offset adapter, so you can take and put this on. That allows you to get into some tight corners. And now there's 16 total positions on this that you can turn this and spin this around, and you can just pull it out a little bit, turn it, and I can go 16 different spots, clicks right into place, easily changes. Just kind of locks in as soon as you get it in place. So offset adapter to get you in some corners to where you can still screw straight instead of at an angle. That's super nice. And then you got your right angle attachment. So again, you get the same 16 positions on that. But the beauty of this one is it also takes attachments here. So I got this close range right angle attachment. I can put my bit straight into this just like I can the drill itself. I can put on my 1/4 inch adapter, so I can take all those bits. I can put on my drill chuck, so I got a 90-degree drill. And then I can also put on my 90-degree offset if that's something I need to do. If I need to get into some tight space, plus have the offset, all those functions are things that you get out of this that you don't get out of some of the other impacts and other hammer drills and things like that. So those are all the kind of features of it. And again, some of those are the good things. The belt clip, the trigger to me is good, the clutch, the balance, all those things. But now let me show you some other things about this drill driver, this installation driver, that I think fit in the good category. So I have a 4-inch screw here. And again, one of the big features of this to me for what you're getting is that it's still powerful. I had the Bosch Flexiclick before I had this, and it didn't have enough power. I had to always carry something else with me if I wanted to do a 3-inch screw or something like that. Now they do have a brushless model of that one out now. It might be more powerful, but at the time they didn't when I bought this. And I had the Surge, but I was looking for something with the clutch settings to kind of replace that Flexiclick. So here's a 4-inch decking screw. I'm going into a 2x6 here, and I'll show you that it will sink this in place. No problem. I mean, a 4-inch deck screw into a 2x6, put it right down in there. Plenty of power in this tool. So even if this is your only tool and you don't have a drill or an impact or something like that, you can put in 4-inch decking screws with this installation driver, 4-inch decking screw. So power is a good on this for what it is. The fact that you're getting all these kind of heads, and it's a compact drill and all the features of it, a multi-tool in a way. You would think that you'd have to sacrifice something, but power is not one of those things. So another good to me is that I can easily swap between my driver bits and a drill bit. So like I mentioned before, I could have my drill bit here, my driver bit in like that. I can take this out, swap up to a drill bit. It's right there at my hand. I can just sit there and swap back and forth like this. Now those don't hold. If you've got a magnetic adapter, I think the magnets kind of fight against each other sometimes with that. So they will hold in there, but they don't fit near as well. But that's not my only option for this. So I could take this drill bit out, put that there. I could leave my driver bit in this head, and then I could also set up a drill bit in my drill chuck and leave this sitting beside my workspace. So what this works really well for is like pocket holes or something like that. You can set up your drill bit in your chuck, set up your driver bit in this 1/4 inch adapter. So I can take this off. I can keep swapping back and forth. I can drill my hole, pull this out, and then put my fastener in just by swapping the heads out. It's a quick change, doesn't take a lot of time. So again, that's another one of those bonuses to me, is that I can swap between, you know, drill bit and fastener a multitude of ways, whether it's from here or whether it's from here. But that's a good bonus feature of this installation driver that you can't get with a drill or any other impact that's out there. Another thing that I really like about this tool is the right angle attachment. So again, like I said, you can put any of those other attachments on your right angle, and you might say to yourself, I've already got one of these attachments, so I can go right angle with any tool I have. I don't have to have all those extra heads and all those things like that. But here's the difference. If I've got this one in, I've got to have one hand to pull this trigger, and that thing just swivels around. So if I wanted to put a screw in, it's hard to get this. I either got one hand to put on the fastener, or I've got one hand to put here. And sometimes you can put enough pressure on that to make that stay to where this thing's not swiveling out of your way, but it's really hard sometimes to make that work. Well, that's where this one really shines, in that this doesn't swivel. So you might think, well, that's going to make it to where I can't just move and get access. But again, I've got those 16 positions that I can sit here and move this to whatever direction I want to. So if I needed to get into some space like this right here, I don't have to hold on to this. I can hold on to the fastener if I want to and sit there and put this screw in and hold that until it gets started. And again, this is a 3-inch, actually it's a 3.5-inch decking screw with the right angle attachment on. So once I get it started, I don't have to hold that fastener anymore. Again, has enough power, even with the right angle, to put a 3.5-inch decking screw into this 2x6. So again, frees up that hand. I know many of you probably have this, and again, it's a great addition if you don't have one of these. But sometimes it just comes into play where you need that third hand to use this, whereas you can get by with two with this every time, because this doesn't wiggle. This doesn't move around while you're trying to use it. You get to set where you want it to be. If I want it to be 100%, backwards, I can do that. So sometimes if I need to get in somewhere over my head but back in somewhere, I can get my drill in like that. Far superior right angle attachment than one of these, even though this is a cheaper option, obviously, than buying a whole tool. But this, again, gives you the ability to use two hands, but also I can put my drill chuck on here. I can put the offset adapter on here. So I'm not just getting a right angle drill or a right angle driver. I'm getting a right angle offset adapter and all those things that go along with that. So the right angle on this is really, really good, and I like it a lot. The last good feature that I want to talk about is this offset adapter. Comes in real handy when you've got to get in somewhere and get a screw in a tight corner, but you can't go it in an angle because sometimes those heads need to be flush or they need to be sunk in exactly straight. And if you go it at an angle, that's never going to happen. Well, look how tight I can get in there with this offset adapter. I can get all the way up into that corner now that I have this on there, versus if you look at your standard impact, here's my surge. Because of the location, for me to go in straight, I'm going to be at least probably 1.5 inches away from that corner. I can turn it, I can get in that corner, but again, that screw is not going to go in straight. That head is not going to go in flush. And there's times where the finish of that screw is important, and you need it to be flush with your material. You can't do that with your impact, but you can do that with an offset adapter. So again, the offset adapter, another big feature of this that I like to use. It's probably one of my most used features whenever it comes to that. So big bonus, big benefit with this installation driver, in my opinion. But it's not all good though. Let me talk about the few things, and it's not many, and I'm not going to necessarily say that they're bad, but they're things that I'd like to see improved upon. One is the sound. It's got that dentist drill sound. So if you're putting in something, you got to know that you're going to be listening to that. When you compare that, if you get out a regular impact, the regular impact's pretty loud by itself. So compared to the regular impact, that dentist drill sound's probably not near as stout, but you can get something like your surge. That's much more quieter, in my opinion, than that constant dentist drill sound. But better than the impact, but to me, not as good as the surge. Because the surge isn't making constant noise whenever it's not, when I'm not hammering on something, it's actually not making any noise at all, versus that dentist drill sound. So to me, the sound is a bad or a negative that I would give it. I'd like to see them quiet that up a little bit if at all possible, but that's one of the things that I think is a bad. Another bad, in my opinion, or a thing that I'd like to see improved, and this one to me is a bad, because my Bosch Flexiclick wasn't this way. My offset adapter had a lock that locked your bits into place. This one's just a magnet, and you know, it holds it fairly well in there. I mean, it locks into place well. But anytime I'm using it, if I want to drill a hole in somewhere, I can take it. And as I drill that hole, anything that I use, whenever I go to pull this tool back out, that drill bit's going to stay in there. So the only way to get that drill bit back out is you got to put it in reverse, and then also put your hand in there and kind of guide it out as well. I think that's a big fail on their part. They need to do something different with this so that it locks your bits into place, whether it's something like a collet like this on the end. I know that's a little bit beefier, but they should put one of these on your offset adapter as well, so that way your bits, whether it's a drill bit or a driver bit, doesn't come off and just get stuck in the fastener or into the wood that you're drilling into or whatever it is. So again, that's a negative to me. Then the last negative to me is the battery size. You can only use the small ones with it, which I actually prefer anyway, so that's not so much a big deal. But it's a little tippy. So if you're using this and it's an installation driver, which means it's meant to be for finish work, finish installations, things like that, it's a little tippy, so you got to be careful. I typically just don't stand it up. I lay it down on its side on somewhere if I'm going to. But that's one of the benefits. I actually prefer using the small batteries when I'm using them in all my drills. But you know, if you put in that 6.0 or the 4s or the 3s on your regular impacts, they stand up nice. That's a decent base. It's not going to fall over, but you can't use that with the installation driver as far as you can while you're using it if you want to. It fits in there and you can use it, but it won't stand up at all. It completely tips forward. The only way that you can use it like that is if you take all the heads off, that balances it back out, and you can stand it up like that. So that works okay. So I guess you could take your head off every time, but nobody's going to do that. So they kind of lock themselves in for small batteries being the only thing that you really want to use with this. But again, plenty of power with the small batteries. It's not like you need the big batteries. It just doesn't set up well with the small batteries or the big batteries. So you always have to pretty much lay it down, in my opinion, to be safe, that you don't knock it over and scratch the finish on something. So, but that's the good and the bad to me of the M12 installation driver. Again, I highly recommend it. I really like it. I use it a lot. Again, I love the way that it feels on my belt clip. I wear it on my MP1 a lot of times whenever I'm doing installations of electrical and things like that. It fits so nice on there and hangs nice. I never think it's going to fall off. But all those head attachments, the right angle, the offset, I like the trigger, I like the clutch. It's a really good tool in my opinion. But again, that's my opinion, but let me know what you guys think, those of you that have it. Has it been a tool that you've pulled out and you like to use, or you pretty much transformed yourself into an impact or a surge fan only? Again, the surge is my number one. It's phenomenal. I haven't met anybody yet that has that M12 surge that says, you know what, I don't like that at all. It's one of the best tools out there in my opinion. But let me know what you think about it, if you've got it or if you don't, or if you've been thinking about getting it. Let me know if maybe I changed your mind to the good or the bad. Maybe I showed you something that you said, man, I'm glad I didn't buy that. Or maybe I showed you something that you thought I need that now. So let me know in the comments below. I hope all is well. Hope you stay safe. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you on the next video.